Welcome to the deep dive. If you feel like the world's just spinning faster, maybe a bit more unpredictably lately, well, you're definitely not alone. We're facing a really unique kind of volatility as we head towards the end of 2025. And today, we're not just, talking about research, we're aiming to forge some mental self-defense. We've got a great stack of source material here outlining a strategy they're calling Mind Armor, our mission, to pull out the complete actionable blueprint from this, turning the ideas into like real tactical things you can actually use starting today to navigate and honestly, maybe even master the chaos.
Yeah, that idea of mastery is so important here. Often we frame resilience as just gritting your teeth and getting through it or bouncing back. But the analysis we're looking at, it really suggests something more proactive. The whole point of this mind armor, it isn't just surviving. It's about building this sustained inner stability, something that lets you shift your perspective and actually use the disruption. The goal is really to come out stronger than when you went in. But, to build that defense system right, first we have to understand the threat landscape, so to speak. Why at 2025 specifically? Why does it demand this kind of proactive mental work? The sources are pretty clear that it's the compounding effect of some unique stressors hitting all at once. You've got these significant, really rapid economic shifts happening, inflation, job market worries, just general market unpredictability. And that stuff, it directly chips away at our sense of financial control or feeling of safety. At the same time, geopolitical tensions are, well, they're high. That creates this constant sort of low-level hum of anxiety in the background. Hypervigilance almost.
That constant hum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exhausting in itself. But the third piece, mentioned in the sources, this relentless pace of tech change, AI, deep fakes, just innovation speeding up, that feels like it's maybe doing the most damage to our cognitive well-being. It's not just change anymore. It's like accelerated. You can't avoid it change.
Precisely. And you combine those three, the economic pressure, the geopolitical noise, and this hyper-accelerated tech development.
Yeah.
What you get is a massive cognitive load,
Yeah.
just sheer decision fatigue. You're constantly processing complex, often high-stakes information, and that depletion. That is the entry point for the chaos to really take hold. If you wait until you actually feel overwhelmed to start building resilience, well, you've already lost quite a bit of ground.
Okay. So let's unpack that internal side of things then. The external storm, we can't stop that, but the sources talk about decoding your inner chaos triggers, which it sounds crucial. It's not just the world being chaotic, it's understanding how you personally react to it, your unique wiring.
It's exactly. Nailing down your personal vulnerability points,
Yeah.
that's the real game changer. The analysis highlights two big internal triggers that really thrive in this kind of uncertain environment. First one is just relentless information overload, which, the 2025 tech landscape just pours gasoline on. We're not just dealing with too much info, we're dealing with info that's often really emotionally charged, maybe even fabricated, and takes huge mental energy just to sort through it, to verify it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the second trigger they mentioned social comparison that feels like it bites even harder when everyone around you is also stressed out.
It really does. The sources point out this isn't just comparing like houses or cars anymore. It's become a kind of resilience performance. You see people outwardly projecting how well they're supposedly handling all the chaos, and then you automatically measure your own internal anxiety against their sort of curated public calm. And that just leads to feeling inadequate or maybe even more panicked.
Right. Okay, so here's where it gets really practical for you, the listener, that critical connection the sources talk about. It really comes down to a quick, honest self-check, doesn't it? Like, what bothers you more? Is it the nonstop tech news fire hose, or is it the kind of vague uncertainty around global events?
Yes, and knowing that gives you control. Once you identify your specific vulnerability, let's say it's the economic news for you, you stop trying to fight the entire hurricane, and instead you focus your energy on reinforcing that one specific weak spot in your mental defenses.
Yeah.
That self-knowledge, that moment you decode your trigger, that shifts you right then from being a reactive victim of the chaos to becoming a proactive planner.
I like that. Proactive planner. Okay, so that proactive approach needs immediate tools, right? Let's move from the diagnosis to the immediate actions. We need these fortress fundamentals the sources talk about, the quick, practical steps you can take right now to build some immediate mental walls against that acute stress. They outline three main pillars for immediate defense. Pillar one, mindful breathing, but not in a, floaty way, more as a physiological reset button. Pillar two, controlled information intake. And number three, intentional disconnection. Now, these sound simple on the surface, but did the research really show they're Like powerful enough to counteract something big like geopolitical fear?
That's a really important question. Because the sources stress that the power isn't just in naming the concept, it's in the specific technique.
Hmm.
Take the mindful breathing. The research they cite focuses specifically on techniques that really maximize engaging the vagus nerve. So it's not just, breathing in and out vaguely. It's about slow, deliberate exhalations. Often they suggest making the exhale twice as long as the inhale. And doing that sends a direct physical signal of safety up to your brain, which helps override that sympathetic nervous system fight or flight response.
Ah, okay. So it's physiological, not just psychological.
Exactly. And then for information intake, the key tactic is something they call information zoning. This means deliberately curating and strictly limiting not just the amount of news and info you let in, but also its emotional tone. For example, maybe you designate 2 specific 15-minute windows each day just for news. That's it. And maybe you make sure the sources you check during that time are more like factual digests, not live, constantly updating reactive feeds. That helps prevent that constant drip, drip, drip of low-level alarm that keeps your stress hormones firing all day.
Information zoning. I really like that framing. It makes it feel structural, like building a fence, not just relying on willpower, which inevitably fails when you're stressed. Okay, and the third pillar, intentional disconnection, that feels absolutely vital given the pressure to be always on these days.
It is. Intentional disconnection is about scheduling actual physical breaks from digital input. The sources really emphasize this needs to be a non-negotiable part of your day, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, where absolutely no digital inputs are allowed. Phones away, screens off. It gives your nervous system a complete, crucial break from constantly processing data, notifications, alerts. And the analysis backs this up. They mention case studies. Real people using these 3 fundamentals, the specific breathing, the information zoning, the mandated disconnection time, they're using these to stay grounded even when facing really high-stakes work situations or intense personal volatility. So these are tested tactics. They work to prevent the outside chaos from just breaking through your mental perimeter.
Okay, immediate walls are up, fortress fundamentals in place. Now we need to think longer term, right? We have to shift from just that immediate defense to building what the sources call a strategic sanctuary. This is about cultivating that deep, sustained resilience, the kind that can handle not just this wave, but future shock waves too.
Exactly. This moves us into establishing a solid resilience routine, something that actively shores up the mind over time. The sources point to 3 key interconnected elements that you need to intentionally weave into your life. First is incorporating gratitude, and not just as a, fluffy platitude, but as an active tool, a tool to consciously shift your perspective away from scarcity and threat. It actually helps combat the negative neuroplasticity that constant fear can create in the brain.
Okay, retraining the brain, essentially. Makes sense.
Right.
What's the second element?
Second is purposeful movement. Now, this isn't just about hitting the gym for fitness, although that's good too. It's about using physical activity specifically to process the tension and the stored emotional energy that all these stressors, the geopolitical stuff, the economic worries, leave lodged in your body. Think of it as a physical release valve for all that mental strain.
A release valve, yeah, I get that. The third element, though, creative outlets. That seems maybe less obvious for resilience building. Why did the sources focus on that instead of, say, just traditional journaling?
That's interesting, right? The emphasis seemed to be on nonverbal forms of release. Creative outlets could be drawing, playing music, building something, gardening, whatever works for you. They provide a channel for emotional processing that kind of bypasses the analytical mind. When you're consumed by huge, complex problems like economic shifts or global instability, your problem-solving brain is already overloaded, maybe even fried. Creative outlets offer this necessary sanctuary space where you can process feelings without demanding immediate cognitive solutions or answers.
A different kind of processing. Okay. Now, resilience definitely isn't something you build alone in a bunker. And the sources make a really strong case for the social side of this. They talk about building a supportive mind armor network. That sounds like more than just having a few casual friends, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's quite strategic, actually. It's about engaging in what they term selective vulnerability. So a mind armor network isn't your entire social circle. It's a small, carefully chosen group of highly trusted individuals, maybe just 2 or 3 people. These are the people with whom you can really share your deeper anxieties or your struggles specifically related to the chaos of 2025 without judgment.
Selective vulnerability. Why is that distinction important?
Because trying to process intense volatility with everyone you know can actually backfire. It can overwhelm your wider social circle, and it might even lead you to withdraw emotionally to avoid feeling like a burden. By choosing your network very intentionally, you ensure that those key social connections become a reliable source of strength, perspective, and context, rather than just another source of external pressure or unhelpful advice.
Got it. So a trusted inner circle for the heavy stuff. Okay, so if we pull all these longer term pieces together, the proactive routine with gratitude, the purposeful movement, the creative release, and the supportive selective network, it all seems to build towards designing your own personal chaos-proof plan. Is that the idea? This is the core architecture for that sustained inner strength.
That's exactly it. It's intentional architecture. And it's dynamic, not static. It means that when the next unpredictable event hits, and let's be real, in 2025, it probably will, you don't just react from a place of pure panic. Instead, you have a pre-built, personalized response system
Yeah.
already integrated into how you operate mentally. It draws on both your immediate fortress fundamentals and your long-term strategic sanctuary simultaneously.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all really mean for you listening right now? I think the big takeaway is that the time for just reacting and defending is kind of over. The moment for proactive strategy is here. The sources argue pretty compellingly, I thought, that we need to move beyond just surviving the turmoil, that the very act of forging this mind armor, it can actually open up massive opportunities right in the middle of all the disruption.
Right, because knowledge is really only valuable when you understand it and then you apply it. You now have the blueprint, essentially, for immediate physiological defense with those fortress fundamentals and for that longer-term psychological strength with the strategic sanctuary. The real ROI here, the real payoff, is realizing that when other people might be paralyzed by the chaos and the uncertainty, your intentional stability, the work you put in now, allows you to stay clear-headed enough to actually spot and then act on those moments of opportunity that disruption inevitably creates.
That's the real power shift, isn't it? Not waiting for the storm to pass to start figuring out your next move. So let's leave you with a final thought to mull over. Our provocative question for you today. Visualize your 2026 vision. Just take a moment. What does a mentally resilient you look like in early 2026, looking back at this period? Use the strategies we've talked about today, your personalized chaos proof plan, your resilience routine, your mind armor network. Use them as the building blocks for that future vision. Start building that mind armor today because a more resilient tomorrow really does start with the choices you make right now.